Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be working on a bit of an experiment, and this is really inspired by a channel that I like to watch called Roots and Refuge Farm. If you guys do not follow them already, I will put a link in the description below. They have amazing ideas. They are sharing their story of moving from Arkansas to South Carolina and building their own homestead from scratch. And today she was talking about how to cultivate garden beds without digging and tilling. And she was using cardboard boxes, and she had talked about using tarps and things. And in listening to her videos, it got me thinking. So traditionally, whenever I start a flower bed, I have to remove the sod. That's just like my normal process that I always go to, is first grabbing a shovel and starting to remove the grass. Now, there is nothing wrong with this way of doing it. I personally don't think. I think it's just another way of doing something. But I will tell you that it's extremely labor intensive, especially if you are talking about a big space. So cutting out flower beds is probably my least favorite thing to do. And I love to have flower beds. So I'm constantly cutting out new flower beds. And it's like, it's a lot of work, and it's very dirty work, and it's not a lot of fun. And as I'm watching her explain how this whole process works, I'm sitting here thinking, my wheels are turning, why don't I just do this instead of trying to cut out my flower beds like I always do? So I want to give this process a try. If you guys are more interested in using cardboard and a layering method to build arrays or to build gardens without digging them and tilling them, I would suggest that you go watch her video. And I will link it down below. But for today, I don't have a whole bunch of cardboard. And I heard that you can use tarps to simulate the same sort of process. So let's talk about what we're really doing here. So essentially, instead of digging or tilling up the ground, running a rototiller through it, or digging it out, getting rid of all that sod, what we're going to be doing is layering things on top of the current soil, top of the current weeds, grass, whatever's already there, and we are going to be building on top of that. Now, there's different ways to do that. So with the cardboard method, you would simply lay out cardboard wherever you want your new flower bed or garden to be, and you're going to lay out the cardboard. You're going to wet it down so that it kind of stays a little bit, so it's not just blown away willy-nilly. And then you're going to begin to top that with things like compost and good soil and things like that. So instead of digging down into the ground that's there, you're actually building on top of the ground. And you're starting to add things to the ground that can break down and really enrich that soil that's underneath. So the good part about that type of thing is the cardboard will break down and add to the soil. The compost and soil that you're putting on top of it obviously is aiding in that soil and helping all those things to really become even better. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is using a tarp. So the difference is a tarp doesn't break down. So I'm going to be laying a tarp out over this space that I want to prepare today. And in a couple of weeks, hopefully, people say a couple of weeks to a month. It kind of depends on your climate. You could even leave it longer if you wanted to. It's kind of up to you and what you're using it for. But I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to lift that tarp up and my soil will be nice and prepared underneath. So what's happening under the cardboard or the tarp, whatever you're using, is that the heat and the suppression of light and really circulation of air is causing all of the weeds that were there, first of all, to die. So all of the grass and the weeds and things like that, the vegetation that you can see, it's going to cause that stuff to die back. It's also, if you keep it on there long enough, it starts to kill the roots. If you're just leaving it on there for like a day or so, you'll probably see like the tops of the grass scorched and brown and look like it's dying. But if you were to take it off and let it go again, it would come back in a couple of weeks. You know, the grass would be fine. But if you let it on there long enough, it'll actually kill the root. And then beyond that, it also will start to kill any seeds that are under there. So any weed seeds or things like that that you don't want there, they'll actually, because it's such a warm, moist environment under there, they'll quickly sprout and then they'll die. And that will cause any weed seeds, any weed problems that you could have in that space to actually die off, which is incredible. Whenever we are removing sod for an area, a lot of times we still have weeds to contend with afterwards. Even though we lifted that top layer of sod off, even though we took a good amount of soil with that sod, even if we're shaking it back in, we're still taking a good bit of soil off of that. You're still going to have weeds that pop up in that new flower bed. That's something that I always have. So it doesn't matter how thorough I am of getting all of that sod and things out, and then I mulch it, I always have a crop of seeds. So especially that first year, second year, I'm always making sure that I am continuously checking and making sure that I'm pulling the weeds, because there's still weed seeds in that dirt. Okay, this kind of takes care of that. This causes those weed seeds to germinate quickly and actually die off, because they're not receiving enough light and enough oxygen to really produce. So that's kind of like the walkthrough behind it and the two different methods. There's actually so much to this process, as far as like the different things you can use, the different things that are going on behind it. There's something about using black tarps. There's something about using clear tarps to like actually sterilize soil, which would kill like everything, which I'm not looking for. And today I'm actually just going to use a regular old blue tarp that I found from my local store. Now, this is a bit of an experiment because everything I saw online is suggesting that you use a black tarp for what I'm trying to do today. But in my experience, we put up a slip and slide on our back hill all the time for my kids, and it kills our grass so bad every time, and it's up for, I don't know, a couple hours to a day. So I'm thinking that this should work for what I'm looking for. We'll see. Also, the second thing that I would say is I saw some conflicting reports on whether or not you have to mow down the grass before you put your tarp on it. Some people say that you should like mow it down and mulch it, you know, like leave that grass then in there so that it can kind of break down into the soil. And some people are saying that's just not really necessary. So today I am not going to cut down these weeds because this is a true experiment. This is not a how-to. This is me experimenting and seeing how this goes and letting you guys know what process is working for me. And this is going to be first step, the easiest process possible, which is using a blue tarp that I have on hand and not having to mow any grass down. I'm just going to lay this blue tarp out where I want my new flower bed to be. I'm going to hold it down with rocks, bricks, anything heavy like that. And then I'm just going to let it set for a couple of weeks. And now I will be giving you guys updates. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, I would highly recommend you do, because I like to give updates on projects just like this on a weekly or daily basis even. I'll come out here, I'll check on things like this, and that's what I'm going to be doing with this project. So if you guys want to follow along with this particular project or any of the other ones, hop on over to my Instagram, The Mythical Mom, and in my stories I always give you guys updates on what we're working on and how things are going. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to lay this tarp out. It's pretty simple, but I'm going to get it laid out, get it held down with the rocks and things like that, and then I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. Okay, so this is where we are right now. The flower bed's gonna come around the tree, kind of come down here and up around that way. We still have a good bit of grass to take care of here, but I'm gonna just kind of get rid of this main portion first and see how this method works. I have two big leaf hydrangeas up here. If you guys remember, this is actually where I planted my blueberry bushes, but I kind of forgot how much sun or how much shade this area actually is in, and so my blueberries did not like it here at all. I ended up moving them and moving two big leaf hydrangeas here, and so I want to do a big flower bed around this whole area, get rid of this hill and the mowing that it takes to do this. And so I'm going to go between the hydrangeas first with one tarp there. I have one tarp here and then one tarp here, and I kind of overlap them a little bit, and we'll see how this goes. I want to kind of test this first. Like I said, I'm going to get some more rocks because obviously you don't want these lifting up. You want this nice and tight to the ground because you want to create a nice humid and hot area to kill off these weeds. But other than that, this is what we're doing, and we're just going to see how it goes from here. Now, there are a couple of factors here, like I said, that I'm not technically doing it correctly. And so this is not a how-to, as I said earlier. This is not a, this is how you should do this because this is what works. This is me trying something the laziest way possible with things I have on hand and seeing what happens. If this doesn't work, then I'm going to bump it up to cardboard or to getting black plastic or something like that. So just, I wanted to make sure that you guys understand, like, I'm not saying this is 100% the way to do it. This is me trying something, and I want to bring you guys along and see if this works, and if it does, just kind of, I guess, my process and how I did it, and that's why it worked or didn't work. So anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.